Guys, welcome back to the Macro Golf YouTube channel. Today we're talking about something so important, something that you should never hit a golf shot without doing. And I brought in the expert golf coach from me, Damon from My Golf Tribe, to explain exactly what you need to do on every single golf shot and don't hit a golf shot without doing this. Guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, it means a lot for me if you hit the subscribe button and also share this video with anyone who you think would value from the content that we're sharing today. I've brought in Damon from My Golf Tribe, who's going to talk today about the intent of hitting an actual golf shot and why it's so important to have a clear and purposeful intent with every shot you hit, both on the range and on the golf course. Damon, do you want to introduce yourself to the guys? It's not your first time on the channel. You've been on the channel before, but just let the guys know what it is you do, where you are, where we can find you.
Perfect. So guys, Damon Wood, Instagram handle, Damon Wood Golf. Please hit me up, send me a message. I will get back to you guys. And then any other inquiries, just hit me up at damon@mygolftribe.com. What do we do? So we have a small in-person academy over in Cheshire, but then mainly most of our clients now are online, and we have a fantastic online program using Joe and his services as well.
Yeah, so that's how we met. We work with a lot of the same clients, and we work on both the areas of technique, purpose, intent, strategy, all of that stuff, but also time and some health and fitness components and helping people basically play their best golf. So that's how kind of we met. And thanks for coming on the channel today. So today we're talking about the purpose and intent of golf shots. And we've had a conversation on this before, and we thought it'd be really valuable to share this with you guys and start to talk a little bit about the kind of benefit of actually having purpose behind every shot we hit, right? So we're talking now both driving range, golf course, everything we do.
Absolutely.
Explain to the guys, what actually does that mean? What does it mean to actually have intent over a golf shot? Are we talking about what we're trying to do in terms of the result, ball flight, end result? What is intent with a golf shot?
Brilliant. So it's really important that we don't go and get carried away with this. It's being super specific. So if we just give a very, very quick example, most people will go to the driving range trying to hit the ball better, right? But what does that actually mean? And what are they actually trying to achieve? So we have something called a coach's call, a tee time call. And that's for anybody that's interested in wanting to improve their golf or wanting to find out more about our services and what we do. And the first question I always ask is, what is the overall outcome of what it is you're trying to do? And most people can't tell me, oh, I want to hit the ball better. Okay, elaborate for me. I want to hit it straight. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Why? Why are you trying to hit it straight? Well, it's just the easiest thing to do, right? No. First of all, it's not, but we can go down that road in a little bit of time. But so for me, an intent straight away is very simply, what type of shot or shape of shot do you want to play? Are you trying to play? Is it a draw? Is it a fade? We can get even more specific for your lower handicap golfers, your more elite golfers. Are we hitting a high draw or a low draw? Okay, but making sure that we nail onto that intent is super important, because for me then, that sets the foundation to be able to get set up relative to that intent. And now we're getting into a bit more of my coaching method and my mantra, because we have to go intent, setup, and then we look at the swing. Everyone looks straight to swing. But for me, your setup is dictated by your intent, and the way you swing and the way you move is going to be massively changed. So the way we swing is going to be massively influenced by the way we set up.
Do you want to show us that? Let's have a look. So what do you mean by, like, let's say, for example, we're going to hit this way, and then we've got the screen.
Which way? This way here?
If you're going to hit this way,
yeah.
How would that change the way that you walk into the ball, the way that you see the shot? What type of change are you talking about here? And can we maybe see an example of someone with intent and someone without intent? And what do you typically see when someone walks in, either with or without intent? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Now, just to try and go very, very basic, hopefully we can see the ball in this. But when you learn to play golf, you typically go default ball position, middle of stance, right? Now, actually, the way that we're going to be delivering this club will be massively influenced whereabouts the ball is positioned, okay? Because we swing on a circle, yeah? Trying to keep it super simple. So if that ball's further back, naturally now my club is going to be working more from the inside or into our open club face. And what's really important there is that is a draw bias concept. Yeah, so that's going to help me produce the impact factors to try and hit a draw. Likewise, if my ball position is too far forward now, or further left, sorry, I say too far forward because I'm draw biased. That's just default for me. But now the ball's further forward. All of a sudden now I'm going to be hitting the ball later in my arc, later in my circle. The club's now exiting left, more out to in, with a closed face, which is a fade bias trait. So something as simple as ball position relative to that intent is huge.
And would you find that people typically, when they come in for you, because their obsession over hitting the ball straight,
Yeah.
they're then trying to get everything so kind of perfect that they get a little bit lost then in, and that maybe affect their visualization or kind of them being able to then pick correct aim points and different stuff?
Yeah, 100%. But the big thing for me as well is, what is perfect? I have so many conversations with people. I have a lot of conversations because, like I said before, I try and speak to and reach out to everyone that follows me. I've got quite a few followers, but it's important to have those conversations. And everyone's looking for that perfect. Well, the problem you've got right now, you're looking for perfect 7-iron in a closed environment. Perfect lie, flat, conditions, we're not really aiming at anything. There's no stress, there's no pressure. You can't take that to the golf course, that open environment, because as soon as you get out there, perfect's gone. The ball can be sat in the rough. It can be sat up. The ball can be below your feet, above your feet. That's before we even talk about the situation in front of us. Is there overhanging trees? What are we going towards? What's the wind, the rain? And then you've got your annoying playing partners that won't shut up. That's what my playing partners talk about me, right? But so looking and searching for perfect is completely the wrong thing to do. But again, like just going a little bit more when it comes to ball position is a great example. When we consider it relative to our feet, for me, that's completely wrong. It needs to be relative to our low point. And our low point is the longest lever. So left armpit. So we want to be looking at ball position relative to left armpit and sternum. Because again, whether we want to go draw bias, we might want to see a little bit of pressure of the lower body left side and get a little bit of tilt. All of a sudden now, my low point's changed. So relative to feet is different. Again, if we get set up more, fade bias going to be a little bit more stacked on top. So now my low point's changed. So ball relative to feet, again, doesn't work.
So how do we find that? How do we find our matchup? How do we decide what that intent will be? Because I know a lot of people will maybe think that they generally hit a fade or generally hit a draw. And some people are trying to hit it straight, like we said. But they might see this now and be like, okay, well, now I don't know what my intent is. So how, in an open field or with a hole that doesn't really dictate a certain shot type, how does someone go down the process of saying, like, that's the shot that I'm now going to hit and that's my clear intent? Because I think sometimes people get a little bit lost when there's too many options, right? Low, high, fade, draw, whatever it is. So is there a process you would go through or a process you would take your clients through to start to really identify that intent and work on their own intent?
Massive. It starts with a conversation.
Okay.
So many of us get straight technical. Oh, we want to hit a draw, right? You've got to shallow the club out. We've got to be more from behind. You've got to have your... No. Start with a conversation. We can get so much from having a conversation. So again, what's your dream? Dream big, right? If you want to hit a draw, okay, well, let's talk about what a draw is. What's the concepts of the draw? Well, the ball needs to start right of target. It needs to move left onto target, right-handed golfer. Okay, so now, impact factors, super basic. To hit the draw, what path and face relationship do we need? From there, how can we get set up to try and best help you deliver that? Because there's things that are going to promote it and there's things that aren't. Body alignment, ball position, just two very simple factors. So what we see, and like for me, once you've got the intent and you understand those concepts behind that intent, getting set up is absolute key because that will massively influence the way you move. From there, my next part of my process, my coaching process, is all of making sure we look at impact and low point control. We actually make sure we can get you hitting ball first, turf second. Make sure we're striking it out of the middle before we look at anything else. Because it's pointless working on direction if you can't hit the ball consistently.
And once that's been worked on, let's say, for example, that's working on a lesson for you or for drills or driving range stuff, what's the process then you would go through? Say, for example, this was a shot that you had set up here. That intent, I assume, starts before we're stepping over the ball. We can go through some visualization. So are there any kind of tips or advice you would give people before they go and execute or before they walk into that to clarify that intent? And we spoke before, setting up this video, about not hitting golf shots until you feel like there's no more questions to be asked. What type of questions are they that we potentially need to ask ourselves? And how do we make sure that we've got that clear intent before stepping in? Because we think that a lot of people hit golf shots before they're ready. What's some kind of advice or tips you can give people to kind of make sure that that intent is clear before executing on the golf course, let's say?
So let's just, for the sake of this example, say that you now know as an individual, your intent is to always hit a draw. and you know how to set up to hit that draw. Yeah. But then we're coming into this golf ball right now, and we've just got to make sure that we answer all of our questions before we get over the ball. And in essence, all that is a pre-shot routine. Yeah. And then most people, if they have some form of pre-shot routine, will be to look at the GPS device or get the rangefinder, trying to not mention any brand names there, and check the yardage. There we go. And then they'll get the yardage and they'll go default, that's my 7-iron, without looking at anything else. Now, for me, the process has to start at the golf ball. How is the ball lying on the grass, and what is the level of the ground? Because that would massively dictate the type of shot we're going to try and play. Because again, like I said before, once you've got your intent and your setup, the next thing that's most important is strike. So if the ball sat down in the grass, we may have to change our setup or certainly our attack angle to get to the back of the ball. Now, by changing that compared to your standard perfect 7-iron that everyone's trying to get on the driving range, that's going to then change the way we deliver the club. So if we're getting steeper on it, that's going to turn our 7-iron into a 6, maybe a 5. Ball's going to come out lower, right? So as it's going to come out lower, it's going to maybe fly not as far, but roll further. So we've got to consider all of those things. So then we consider that, and we've gone, right, I know that actually I want to get steeper on this golf ball. Okay, fantastic, to make sure I get a good strike. So then with that, then we look up and we get our yardage. You get your yardage, all of a sudden say it's your 155 normal 7-iron, say. But I know this ball is going to come out low. It's going to play more like a 6-iron or 1 club less. So that straight away, the club that you would have gone for the yardage is not the club you need for the situation. So it's just answering all of those questions. Now, we're getting a little bit in depth here, but this is super important. You've got to make sure you answer those questions and get the right club so then you can visualize the shot. So we've got to visualize that shot. You've got to do a rehearsal of that execution. Then you've got to get set up. Make sure that we're correct for the shot's intent. Again, not just that perfect lie, perfect stance for that perfect 7-iron. It's now, well, if I'm having to get steeper on it, I might move my ball further back in my stance. I might have to load a little bit more weight into the lead side. Making sure you tick that box. We had that great conversation before about people when they hit a bad shot, we go, oh, I overthought that. But what did you actually overthink? Was it the fact that you got over the ball thinking and answering those questions because you hadn't done it prior to getting over the ball? It's something you should be doing. A lot of the time when you actually tell people what the best players in the world go through as in the process, as the pre-shot routine, I think, that's a lot. But the problem is on golf course, the reason why it's so hard is every shot is different. So you need to make sure you get set up according for that individual shot. And for me, we straight away, we are all way too guilty of blaming our technique when more often than not, it's a setup issue because we just haven't got set up correctly or we haven't understood the situation correctly.
And I suppose that's one of the many advantages of spending more time on the golf course as opposed to the driving range, because it means that we're getting forced into having to deal with situations like this more often.
Yeah.
We're becoming more aware of adaptations we need to make with setup, ball position, all these things. And then we're able to pick different intents often, because sometimes when people think also intent or I'm going to hit a draw, I'm going to hit a fade, sometimes they think that intent has to be the same every single time, where actually situation is going to completely dictate the intent and purpose of that whole golf shot, right? And
100%.
on the driving range, we can just do the same thing every single time.
Yeah.
Same intent. And this almost trains the skill of having to decipher what's going on and react to that, right?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. How many people complain about, I hit it great on the range, so I'm on the golf course, I can't. Yeah, it's a completely different situation.
So what would be the one thing you would let the guys go away with this in terms of the intent? We've obviously said that we shouldn't really even hit a single golf shot on the driving range or on the golf course until we have this clear intent.
Yep.
If you were to give people one piece of advice now to go away from this video, what's the one piece you're going to give them to start working on this and start to instill and make sure when they go out next, they're hitting golf shots with intent?
Brilliant. So it's choose your intent, choose your shot. So if your dream is to hit a draw, let's understand that draw. So, right, I want to hit the draw, concepts behind that, how you do it, where the ball needs to start, where it needs to curve, the impact factor, so how you need to deliver the club and the club face. And then from there, understand the specific setup for that intent. Because you're going to move differently. You just are, and it's going to help. Before you work on anything technical, get that intent, the concepts behind it, and get set up to it. It's the exact process I go through with all of my clients. Doesn't matter what skill level they are.
Amazing. I've learned something.
Cool.
Hopefully everyone else has learned something as well.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
found that super interesting. Guys, if everyone go and give Damon a follow his socials. I'll put everything in the description below. Posting loads of stuff pretty much daily on Instagram.
Yep.
Super valuable content. So make sure you go give him a follow. And if you want to learn more about this stuff, I'm pretty sure people can book in a call with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without speaking out of turn. So if you're interested in this stuff and you are unsure on your intent, you're unsure on your process, and you're being a bit lost with your purpose and what you're trying to do in your golf journey, go and drop Damon a message, and he will help you on your journey. Thanks for coming on, man.
No, I really appreciate it, mate. And like I said before, guys, anyone that does follow, I'll reach out, say hello. And at this moment in time, I'm offering everybody a free swing analysis. So drop me a DM, send me a swing, I'll hit you up. Instagram has to keep it to 1.5 minutes, but I'll give you as much value as I can in that 1.5 minutes.
No reason not to do it. Damon, thanks, man.
Cheers,
Appreciate
dude.
it.